but your dad is the only man in your life that wants you to be better than him. And so if I'm going to be that kind of coach, then I have to have that mentality.
Right.
So I want that kid to definitely be better than me.
All right, Coach Rusty Miller, thank you for joining me in the den.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. You got me probably the best cup of coffee I've ever had on here, but you don't drink coffee.
I do not. I've never been a coffee drinker. No. Those who know me know that I am a 100% Diet Mountain Dew guy.
I was going to ask you, what do you use for energy? Mountain Dew.
Diet Mountain Dew. I'm diabetic, so I have to find something that doesn't have the calories and the carbs in it. And
Mountain Dew don't have calories?
The diet does.
Oh, the diet.
Diet, yeah.
But it's jam-packed with caffeine, ain't it?
Yeah, that's a little bit in it, so a little bit. But I have been known to partake in the Diet Mountain Dew quite often.
Diet Mountain. Any other diet drinks?
Every now and then, just depends. But
so diet drinks don't have sugar, but what do they have?
Aspartame.
Aspartame, and that doesn't
bother me too much. Yeah, it doesn't. I can drink them and my sugar doesn't go up. Now the caffeine doesn't help, obviously, so I have to be careful how much I'm drinking.
Caffeine affects diabetics.
It can. It can do some different things. I'm not versed in it.
Yeah.
Too much, but yeah, my wife's a nurse, so she keeps me posted.
She just tells you what to do. You don't have to learn it.
Yeah, keeps me posted.
Good. How long have you been diabetic?
I actually was diagnosed when I was 35 with late onset type 1. So I have childhood diabetes, but I didn't get it until I was an adult. And spent actually about 6 years misdiagnosed and taking the wrong kinds of meds. And they were giving me, a typical type 2 diabetes, regimen. And all of a sudden things I dropped. I went from 210 pounds to about 145.
Wow.
In a matter of about 8 months. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. And all of a sudden the doctor walked in one day, and it was a new doctor, nurse practitioner. And she said, "Are you sure you're type 2? And I was like, "I think so." That's what they told me. So she tested me again, and 100% type 1, and put me on just insulin. And from that point on, I gained my weight back. And
what's the difference between those two, type 1, type 2?
Type 2 is type 1 is you don't produce any insulin at all. So what was happening is they thought I was type 2 because I was still producing some insulin. But then as I went those years, it stopped. And when it stopped producing it, my body just started eating itself. And it was a rough time. It was about a year that it was really, really rough, and lost a ton of weight, lost a lot of strength. And but then type 2, it still works. Your pancreas still works. And but just got to the point where I figured it out and was good. And type 1 is a different animal. I'm on a pump, an insulin pump, and it's helped tremendously. Still, doctor every 6 months and checking things out. But it's been a battle, but it's one of those things that there's got to be a reason for it. So
what causes that? What causes diabetes? Because you look like you're in great shape.
Well, thank you. And yeah, mine is strictly genetic. So it wasn't anything that I did. Mine is type 1 is 100% genetic. My son has it. He was diagnosed 2 years ago when he was 13. And doctor said, it's just, your body decides it's not going to make insulin anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. But type 2 is more about what you eat, and it's being overweight and putting yourself in a bad state health wise, and what you're putting in your body. And I weighed the same when I was diagnosed with type 2. That's what we didn't understand. And they told me, they said, "Yeah, you're type 2 diabetic." And I was like, "Man, I don't really eat a whole lot of fried food. I drank diet drinks back then. was athletic, played sports 5 or 6 nights a week, different sports, and was very, very active. And so that's when it decided. When my wife, who's a nurse, I said she even said, "I think you're type 1, not type 2." But they told me I was type 2, gave me the meds, and like I said, 6 or 7 years later, it was
6 or 7 years
yeah, it
later.
was
Wow.
6 years, and I think my body was still trying to work, and like I said, for about a year, it was really tough. My sugar, most people sugar runs between 70 and 120. Um, I was hovering around 300 every day, and they couldn't figure it out. We just kept giving more meds, and until we got to the point where it was like, okay, something's not right.
Mm.
So
And your boy has it as well. How does he deal
yes,
with that? Because
it's
he's an
tough.
athlete as well. Huh?
Yes, he's an athlete. He plays football, baseball. Played a little basketball in junior high, and he's a golfer. Loves to golf. So he's fighting it, trying to figure it out. He refuses to get on a pump. Doesn't want that battle. We wear sensors in our arms that tell us what our sugar is and update our phones constantly. And poor guy, he's out there in the middle of a football game, and it's just beep 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 when he comes off to the sideline. Trying to. So he's we played ball last weekend in Austin, and I think 3 times I had to go into the dugout and give him insulin,
Mm-hmm.
just because he's very intense, like his father, when it comes to sports,
Mm-hmm.
and when you put that pressure on yourself and it's scorching hot outside and you're sweating and your sugar's going to go up. I'm sorry, not your sugar, your glucose level. And so I go in the dugout and give him a shot and tell him to put some ice on his neck and kind of relax a little bit. But the game's still going and he doesn't want to come out. So
3 times in one game, you had
no, 3 times over the weekend I had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, because it'll get up. I mean, you're not supposed to exercise anything over 250. Like when it gets up over 250, you're not supposed to lift weights or do anything. And but it's hard because if you give yourself insulin right before you work out, right before you play a game, it can make it go down. So you have to be really careful of how you're preparing to be an athlete. So
It's a balancing act.
yeah, one of the coolest things that has happened to him is there's a young man that pitches for the San Diego Padres named Mason Miller, and oddly enough, Miller. And I contacted Mason's college coach and told him what was going on with my son. And Mason is a type 1 diabetic that pitches Major League Baseball. And Mason sent him a nice long email and said, "Hey man, this is what you need to do. I understand your struggle. Keep pushing." And so that's been nice to have someone like that's kind of reached out.
Encouraging.
Yeah,
encouraging. I'm gonna do something real quick. There's a bug landed on me.
Yeah,
it's gonna be distracting me this whole thing.
Yeah.
So man, that's awesome that he reached out to him like that.
Yeah, that was good. So he's a pitcher. My son's a pitcher. It was a good experience for my kid, and Ripken loved it.
Awesome. I knew a pitcher from the Padres, Mike Adams. I don't know. Did you know Mike Adams? He's from the area.
Yeah.
Sinton.
I don't know him, but I know the name. Yeah.
So when you said Padres, I thought you were talking about him. But yeah, that's awesome. So you are a coach. What sports did you play growing up?
I played everything, backyard stuff. Was never a basketball player. Lived in a town full of basketball players, and didn't really, at 6 foot, you don't really fit in when the starting lineup's all over 6'5". And
where was that?
Kentwood, Louisiana. That's where I
Okay,
grew up.
yeah,
A small
makes
town
sense.
in Louisiana, and those guys were tough, man. I think the last high school basketball game I watched my high school play, they won 130 to 120.
Wow.
It was like watching a tennis match, just up and down fast. It was fun to watch. Different kind of basketball than what's played around here. But I played football, was a really bad quarterback and a semi-slow receiver, but could pitch a little bit and was a catcher and loved playing baseball, and went to college and played a little ball. So
what made you I don't think anybody who plays sports can be a coach, but what did you see that made you think I'm going to be a coach?
Well, my story, I tell people all the time when I was in kindergarten, they sit there in kindergarten at the kindergarten graduation and say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And kids are like, "I want to be a fireman. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a coach." My mom's a teacher. My aunt taught my mom. My mom taught my sister and myself, and my sister taught my little brother. So we are a teacher family. I think there's 16 just on my mom's side that teach, and
it's in the blood.
it's what we do, and tons of coaches in there, and aunts and uncles and cousins that are coaches, and it's just what we wanted to do. But it really happened. It really stuck when I played 2 years of junior college ball and played some NAIA baseball at Louisiana Christian University, which was Louisiana College back then. And then I transferred to Southeastern Louisiana, and I had a teacher named Ed Acevedo, and he taught sports psychology. And sitting in his class and listening to some of the things that he did as a Olympic consultant, sports psychology consultant, I was hooked, and that was what I wanted to do. So I took sports psychology as a junior in college, and my route went that way big time. Did my master's in that, and started coaching right away. My senior year of college, I was a junior college baseball coach at Copiah Lincoln Community College in Mississippi, and it just, I don't know, it just kept growing and growing in my gut.
What did Acevedo say? By the way, that name sounds familiar. Is he well known? Or?
He's well known to me. Yeah. He's the department head, or the last I checked, he was the department head at Virginia Commonwealth University. And he was at Southeastern Louisiana with me and was one of my graduate professors. And then he moved to Ole Miss and was at Ole Miss for a year or two. And then he took a couple other jobs and ended up at BCU. But he is just, the way he presented some of the things, I remember talking about performance and talking about optimal performance of athletes and how the stress of participating, and I actually shared this with my team last year, but there's a curve and everybody's curve is in a different spot. So, to kind of make it as simple as possible, if your stress level goes from 0 to 10, my optimal level might be 5, but somebody else's optimal level might be 8. That's why I don't believe that you can motivate every athlete the same way.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of coaches. Coaches feel like, oh, we're going to scream and we're going to yell and we're going to get everybody motivated. No, some kids like to sit in the corner and put their headset on and be quiet and not say anything. And I love music. I'm a huge music fan. I was having a conversation with an athletic director yesterday, and Sunday at an all-star game that we had, and we were talking about lifting weights before we participate. And he said, "Man, I like for it to be loud and I like for it to be energetic." And he said, "How do you do it?" And I was like, "They all have their own music." I said, it is completely silent to me, but each one of them has their own music going. And that kid may be listening to something very soft and very quiet, but this kid may be listening to AC/DC or whatever they listen to nowadays.
Right.
So I believe that optimal level of performance is different for every person. So I don't motivate the same. Some kids need a little pat and a little tug, and then some kids need want to jerk, and so it's different for everybody.
So how do you determine what each one needs? Do you have like a strategy?
A lot of relationship building. We do. I do 5-minute meetings with my team, and we do them 5 or 6 times a year. And I'll tell the kids, like, "Hey, we're doing meetings today. It's during the athletic period. Come by and see me. And if I miss them, I get them at practice, And they come in and we talk about grades. That's the first thing we talk about. First thing is academics. First thing we talk about. Second thing is I say, how's things going in your personal life? Is there anything you need help with? Is there anything going on at home? Is there anything going on in the classroom? Is there anything you struggling with your girlfriend? Is there something going on with that?" And then the third thing is the sport. And we talk about, what do you want to accomplish this week, or what's been a struggle for you this year? And I am a huge believer that the most important thing that a coach does is build a relationship with his athlete. And so that relationship of talking to them in those 5-minute meetings and building those relationships is what allows me to pull a kid off to the side and put my arm around him and go, hey, it's going to be all right. Be fine. I promise it'll be okay. But then the other kid, it's pull him off to the side and say, hey, it's got to be better. You got to push. You got to drive. Got something and a little bit more intense, So hunting, that's my favorite part is hunting what motivates them. We had a young man last year, and I won't mention his name, but here in Robstown, one of my favorite kids I've ever coached. And when I'm telling you his freshman year, I got him hard at Carroll High School. We were at Carroll in a JV game and a scrimmage, and he did something I didn't like and did something he didn't like and had an excuse for it and blamed everybody under the sun, and I chewed his tail. And from that point on, he was like this with me. Constant phone calls, constant conversation. He wanted that. He wanted somebody to push him to be great. And he played for me for 2 years at Robstown, and was one of the, when I left and went to Ingleside, one of the first messages I got was from him.
All right.
And so, that just everyday conversations, man, talking to them and getting to know them. And you'd be surprised what some of these kids go through that we never dreamed of.
What has been one of the strangest situations that you run into when it comes to discovering how that kid gets motivated?
That's a tough one. There's been a lot. I would say, I don't know if it's the strangest, but the hardest. The hardest is always their relationship with their dad. The hardest is always that, because there's a lot of dads that are pushing their kid to accomplish this goal that the kid doesn't necessarily want. And whether that's in athletics or academics or band or choir or whatever it is, football, whatever sport it is. And I have a ton of kids that come to me, a ton. And over the years that just say, Coach, this is really not what I want to do. I only play because of my parents. That's it. Like the minute high school is over, I'm done.
What do you do with that kid?
I love them more than you push them, I guess you could say. Since they've shared that with me, I never share that with parents. I would never throw a kid under the bus, so to speak, that. And I've had many kids that have done that.
Do you have any kids that are going through that but are really good?
Oh yeah, tons. I would say more than not. Definitely the higher percentage of a kid. I'll put it to you this way: just yesterday, I took my son. I don't do that to my kid. I say, "Do you want to do this?" And if he says, "No, not tonight," okay, no problem. But Monday night, he said, "Hey, I want to go hit." And I was like, "Okay, let's go hit." And so we get out of the car, and the adult walks over to me and he says, "Hey, can you call my kid?" I was like, "Yeah." Is something wrong? And he goes, "Man, he told me he doesn't want to play baseball anymore." And I was like, "Oh." And I said, "Well, you remember we had this? We kind of talked back during the year, and I told you, man, just let him leave him, like let him go. He's okay. Like he's a good player." And I would tell you, pound for pound, probably the best player we had in our program the last 2 years, and doesn't want to do it anymore because it's not fun. And I don't think everything has to be this joyous occasion. Sometimes you got to go through hard times. Growth, that's where growth happens. And this kid just has no desire to play anymore. He's like, I don't want to do it. And I'm telling you, I'm not in Robstown anymore, but I will tell you that kid probably has the potential to be one of the best players that's ever come through Robstown.
Wow.
And he
don't want to play. Do you think that that's organic? He don't want to play, or do you think that has come from the unwanted pressure of, like you said, dads or family members?
I think it's a little bit of everything, but I do think that I think those kids, they get up in the morning and they're saying, "Hey, don't forget we have practice tonight, and I booked a lesson for you, and I did this for you, and we're gonna go do this." And the kid's like, okay, fine, and he does it. And then the next night, he's like, hey, we did hitting last night, so we're going to do a fielding lesson tonight, and I booked this for you. And I told this coach that you would play on his team. And sooner or later, the kid's like, 15, man, I need a break. Like, I
Mhm.
want to enjoy life a little bit. I want to be around my friends. I want to go to the pool. I want to do those things, and it, I didn't, I'm not saying I'm right by any means, but I looked at that for the years, and I just thought, I'm not going to do that to my kid.
Mhm.
I'm not. And my kid came to me the other day, and he's like, what if I just wanted to play golf? I was like, well, play golf,
Play
man.
golf. I like golf.
Like, whatever you want to do, man.
So, do you think that some of these kids that don't want to play now would maybe even be passionate about it and been better than what they are had that approach been different
I
by a
think
parent?
so. Not all of them, but
Right,
I
right.
do think there's kids out there. Yeah, I do think that 50 or 60 of the ones that 50 or 60% of the ones that I'm talking about would be a different kid today had they just had a little bit of like loosen the rope a little bit, man. Let him go be a kid.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's,
say,
it's
what's
fine.
what's the biggest mistake parents make when it comes to their kids and
Yeah, and,
whatnot?
and of course, this is all my opinion. As just 20, I tell people all the time. I coached a 15-year-old team. I was the head coach of a 15-year-old team when I was 16, and I'm 50. So I've been coaching baseball for the
Mhm.
last 34 years, and over those 34 years, you see a lot, and I would tell you, to me, the biggest mistake is you've heard this before, you're living through your child. Just let them decide what they want to do. I just had a conversation a few minutes ago and with a gentleman that was here, and I just told him, I said, my daughter is dead set. She wants to be a dermatologist. That's what she wants to do. And my son wants to be a coach. I want to be a coach. That's all I want to do. Okay, great. And he goes, but what if I don't want to? Well, you'll figure it out. Like, but just be happy, man. Be glad to go to work every day.
Mhm.
And when you're not happy at work, or when you go home, and I tell him this more than I tell my daughter, but when you go home and you take a bad day home, now you're not happy.
Mhm.
Mama's not happy.
Nobody else
Kids
around
are
you, yeah.
happy. The old saying of when mama's not happy, nobody's happy. I think that's anybody.
Mhm.
When dad comes home and dad's bringing in a hard day of work, I, I do this every time. I was coaching Robstown the last 2 years, and I would coach a game, and we would get done around 9:30, 9:45. And I go into the coach's office, and everybody would leave, and I would push everybody out, and I'd close the door and I'd lock the door, and I would just stay until that game was done. And when that game was done, I'd get in the car and I'd go home. And sometimes it was 11:30, sometimes it was midnight. Sometimes we drove to Victoria and we played, and it was an hour and a half drive, and we drove an hour and a half drive back on the bus, and I got in there and it was midnight, and I stayed till 2 because I needed to leave it in that office. And when I would get home, she didn't have to deal with that. My kid didn't have to deal with that. And
When you mean when the game was done, then you
yeah,
left.
like
What do you mean by that?
when I had come to terms with whatever good or bad,
Decompressed.
decompressed, whatever bad or good event had happened, or whatever struggle that we had fought for that game, or whatever parent was upset about whatever, I would go in and I would write things down, and I would read, a devotional or something like that, and I have a coach's Bible from the FCA, and I would read through that and just take some time. And when that, like I said, when you decompress and you take a breath, I'd go home
Mm.
and I'd listen to music on the way home. And when I walk in that door, she'd be like, "You good?" I'm like, "I'm good.
Mhm.
It'd be fine." And not everybody can do that.
No.
Kids are going, I get to do that. But our
Mhm.
kids are, Ripken and I, my son, Ripken and I have a rule. And I saw this years ago. If he gets in the truck after a game, I am not going to talk about baseball until he brings it up.
Mhm.
When he brings it up, we'll talk about it.
Mm.
If we get in the car and he doesn't talk about it, we're not talking about it. He's going, it is extremely hard for us because I'm his coach most of the time
Right.
and his dad. But I have a great picture that pops up on my Facebook memories all the time of, we had a junior football game. He was sixth grade. We coached him in football, and we just got destroyed every time we played. I mean, we had like 11 or 12 kids. It was in Banquetti. We only had a handful of kids, and we would go play these games and just get hammered by teams that had 30 or 40 kids. And I got on him hard one game. Like that, none of them were hustling, none of them were doing anything, and it wouldn't have done me any good to get onto them. So I was on him pretty good because mine likes to be pushed.
Mhm.
He likes it. Mom doesn't like it,
No.
but Rip likes it. So I got on him pretty hard, and I had this picture, and I posted it. Of course, this was before he was diabetic, but I was like, Coach got on him pretty good today. Dad bought ice cream after the game, you know, and I tell him, like, if you don't want to talk about it, we don't need to talk about it. But our kids are dealing with the parent that sits in the stands and disagrees with the coach.
Mhm.
And then they put their kid in the car, and then they talk about the coach all the way home. And then they get home, and the kid takes a shower, and the kid's like, finally. And then they go in their room, and they tell them all the things that the kid did wrong. And are it can also be the opposite. Oh, you're the best player out there. I don't know why he doesn't play you, or I
Right.
don't know why. And the kid's sitting there going, well, I know why. Like Coach and I have had plenty of meetings. Like Coach talks to me all the time,
Mhm.
and I just don't think parents like that. I don't think they like watching their kid grow up,
Mhm.
watching their kid take ownership.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell the kids all the time. When I was in college, my dad came to me and he said, "Hey, you hadn't been in a game in a while." I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm gonna go talk to the coach." I was like, "Oh no, absolutely not." I was 17. I was like, "No, sir, no way." And he said, "Well, you're gonna do it?" And I said, "I'll do it." So I went to the coach and I said, "Hey, I've warmed up 7 or 8 times. I haven't been in a game. You keep sending somebody else down there. Tell me what's wrong." He said, "You're not good enough to play right now."
Mm.
Yes, sir. I said, "Okay, can you tell me what I need to do to be good enough to play?"
Mhm.
And he said, "Yeah, you need to do this, 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 and this." So I did it. And then my sophomore year, I had more innings than anybody on the team. That was my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, I pitched more than anybody on the team because I did the things my coach asked me to do
Mhm.
without my dad's help. And so I've always been that way as a coach. The first parent meeting I had in Robstown, I told him, I'm going to talk to your kid.
Mhm.
I'm going to have a conversation with your kid. He needs to take ownership of his life. He is the CEO of his day-to-day activities in his life. If he fails a test, it's not the teacher's fault. It's his fault.
Mm.
If he shows up late for practice from being at school, that means he did something else before he came and did what he was supposed to be doing. And I think parents, they fight that.
Mhm.
They gotta, I'm gonna take care of it. You
Yeah.
don't need to always take
Yeah.
care of it. Sometimes they can fail.
Is there any times where the parent does need to take care of it? Like, would you say that there are times where the coaches are like a
Yeah.
little out of hand?
Oh
Or
yeah, for sure. I do. And that was when it comes to, for example, I had a parent one time, and he's like, you get on my kid. You push him. You get on to him. This was on like a Tuesday. It was like, you do it. It was after a game. You do whatever you need to do. He needs to be pushed. You get on his tail. Okay, no problem. So Thursday, kid did something wrong, and I got on his tail. And an hour later, just like that, the dad calls me. So you didn't handle that right. Okay. So I do think
Yeah.
yes, there are times where the coach steps out of bounds, but I do think that you have to have some conversations with the dads or the moms or the uncles or
Mhm.
the aunts or whoever it is or the grandpa, and talk to them and say, what do you want? What do
Yeah.
you want to see? But yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with Ripken's parent coaches before. He's playing on a team right now, and we're getting beat 10 or 11 to nothing every game.
Mm.
But it's summer ball, and he's getting to play, and it's an opportunity. So.
Let me tell you about a scenario I was in, and you tell me where I went wrong. Because I have a feeling I did it wrong. But my daughter, she's playing basketball. She's a senior. She had started playing as a junior, right? She just said, "Dad, I think I want to play basketball." She came and started playing basketball. And she had an amazing 3-point shot. But, her dribbling skills, she was not the best player. A lot of these girls are playing since they were
Right.
tiny. So she's playing, and the coach goes like 5 games straight without giving her not even a second on the court.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those games, she was the only one who
Didn't
didn't
play.
play.
Right.
And it just aggravated me so bad. I kept quiet. I kept quiet until that one game where I saw he could have put her in. I mean, there was no way they're going to win. I just put her in, let her play a little bit. So after the game, I approached him and I said, bro, one girl, you're not going to play one guy. And I got a little upset and he called security and all that. And I said some things maybe I shouldn't have because it really got to me. I
Right.
see my daughter and she's hurting, she's embarrassed, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? How did I?
It's hard. And, as a parent, like I said, I've watched Ripken. I mean, I've watched Ripken do that same thing, play on a team and just not get in. I mean, I've done it to my kid.
Mhm,
I've done it. And, I'm not a basketball guy. And I always tell these basketball guys, like, man, you got it easy.
mhm.
Like, you can put them in for 30 seconds to take them out. I can't.
Yeah.
When I put them in, they have to stay.
Right.
Like, because that doesn't happen in baseball. You
Right.
can't put a kid out there for 2 or 3 pitches and take them out. They have to stay in their lineup. So I just, I don't know if you did anything wrong. I mean, I tell parents all the time, like, decompress a little bit,
Mhm.
breathe a little bit before you come talk to me. And I think everybody, we care so much.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
our kid.
And I'm
know?
not the type that's yelling at the
Yeah.
I just sat there and watched it, and
And
I
it
watched
ate
her.
you up.
And afterwards, she came out after the locker room and she says, I said, "So did everybody hear? Did your friends hear? Everybody heard that." So I thought she was upset with me. We went
Yeah.
home, and like a few days later, we take a trip to Port Lavaca and go pick something up, and we're driving back. And I said, "Ma, I just want to apologize for that. That's I shouldn't have done that. That was not right." She said, "Dad, I think that was a highlight of yours." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
"Yeah, I think that was a highlight." That's all she said. I'm like, "All right." You know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
It didn't look it wasn't becoming of a pastor, right?
Yeah.
But for her to say, "Man, my dad stood up for me," that was all worth it. Whether I did it wrong or not, I probably did it wrong, but it was worth it.
But you won your kid over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I tell parents that all the time. Like, I will talk to anybody. I will talk to anybody. But as a coach, and I tell our young coaches this all the time, like, look, you better be able to back up your decision.
Mhm.
And the problem I have is that I would rather have that. I would rather have you come walk up to me and go, man, come on. What?
Mhm.
What's that? Okay, well, let's talk about it,
Mhm.
than the one that goes and posts it on
Right,
social media.
right.
Like, in that, to me, that has killed athletics. Social media has killed
A
people,
lot of things.
a lot of things, basically leadership, because everybody, the situation that just happened with me, um, there are some facts, there's some opinions, and there are some thoughts that people have.
Mhm.
And, I'm the only one, me and 2 or 3 other people are the only ones that know the facts.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to share those facts with a lot of people, but I will just tell you, like, as a coach, parents are going to come to you and parents
Mhm.
are going to say, why aren't you playing my kid? Or, hey,
Mhm.
I think my kid's a shortstop, not a center fielder, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And, or why is my kid not pitching and you're playing him over here? And I think you have to be able to back that up as a coach
Yeah.
and have, we do this thing at every school I've been at for the last 7 or 8 years. I started it in Banquetti, and we grade our kids. So we grade them at their positions. And man, I can't tell you the face that parents make when they come in and say, well, why did you play so and so instead of so and so? Well, yesterday we graded out at practice, and your son graded at a 25%, but that kid graded at a 78%. And it's not subjective. It's
Mm-mm.
he caught the ball, he threw it to first, they caught the ball.
Mhm.
Your kid missed the ball 15 times.
Yeah.
So, but I love it when parents come talk to me.
Yeah.
Just do it the right way. Just come in and
Yeah.
just say, hey,
I
look,
approached
we
him.
have to talk.
Yeah, I approached him and just asked him quietly,
Yeah.
"No, we're not doing this now."
Mm.
And I was like, "No, yeah, we are doing it right now." Security, he started calling security, and I'm like, wow, come on. So that's what kind of got me really upset about that.
Yeah.
But moving on from that,
Okay.
I digress. You mentioned something about what's going on here. It's been out on social media
Right.
that you will no longer be in Robstown as a coach.
Right.
you coming in from Banquetti. I think you've been with us 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it almost there was like a controversy in Banquetti when you moved
Yeah,
over here.
sure. It
We
was.
were
Yeah.
great. We were. I think everybody in town was happy to have you. Um, what was happening in Banquetti when that move happened? And then I want to talk about how we're moving from Robstown to
Yeah.
Ingleside, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Banquetti, I was there for 12 years, and I tell people all the time that was we used to call it the Banquetti bubble. It was a small little town that lived in a little bubble.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of Alice. It wasn't a lot of Robstown. It wasn't a lot of Mathis. It
Hmm.
wasn't a lot of Bishop, which are the the four corners around
Yeah.
us. And I loved it there, man. It's a great place. It's great people, and we just had a huge turnover in leadership, and it happened overnight. It was new soup, new assistant soup, new high school principal, new athletic director, and when you get a lot of change like that, you have a lot like people.
Mhm.
A good friend of mine who was one of our assistant coach, he heard the he heard the leadership talk the first time, and he's like, "I'm leaving." He's like, "I've lived through this before." I was like, "Man, they've talked one time."
Mhm.
He goes, "I can't stay," and he left after one speech.
Who was this?
Jesse Carbajal, one of my assistant
Oh,
coaches. He's
okay,
a good
okay.
man. He lives up
He
in
knew it was
Austin.
coming.
Yeah, he knew. He's just like, "Hey, I'm out of here." And but in a little small town like that, I guess the biggest thing that happened was we had some new leadership, and it happened, like I said, really fast. And when it happened, um, there were those of us that wanted so bad to be a part of that town and be a part of that community. And I just remember after the second year, we had lost like 32 teachers. We
Mm.
lost like 32 staff members who had been there forever. I mean, we didn't, the 2 or 3 years I was a principal before that, I think we lost one or two a year. And within 2 years, we'd lost 32. It was crazy. But I am some people call it old school. Some people call it fiery. Some people call it aggressive. Some people call it over aggressive.
Mhm.
I am an intense coach. I love it. I want to win. I want to build men who are strong and can handle their life
Mhm.
and get away from me and can handle it. And just had a couple situations where I will tell you the first situation that happened the year before I left was just an outright lie. It was a situation that happened in the dugout at a baseball game and a playoff game, and I ran in the dugout and told a kid, "Get your stuff together, get it together,
Mhm.
and you better figure it out and figure it out quick." And he's like, "Yes, sir." Ran on the field. It was great. And then after the game, it just blew up that I had done all these things to this kid. And the kid, I'm like, I pulled the kid to the side. I was like, "Are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to lose, but I'm good." And I was like,
Mhm.
Was our interaction too much?" And he said, "What interaction?" And so that was a really tough situation. And I knew then that some things were going south. And
Mhm.
so there were some accusations made. I went through the process and everything was cleared. And then the second year, we had a young man who had been late a couple times. Great kid, love him to death. Still, you know, still think he's a great kid. I don't have anything against him or anybody in his family, but he was late a couple times, and I got on his butt because he was late. And of course, we had a camera inside the building or
Mhm.
whatever, and it turned into I shoved the kid, and before the video came out, it was he punched the kid in the mouth, and all this. The social media blew up with
Mhm.
it, and lost a lot of I don't want to say friends, but acquaintances for
Mhm.
that. But I decided after hearing again some facts coming from behind the scenes that it was just best if I moved on.
Yeah.
And Robstown came calling, and it was an opportunity for me to come here, and I came as an assistant athletic director and a baseball coach, and was excited about that. Robstown has a great tradition of baseball, and I wanted to come in here and not only make an impact on the baseball side of things, but make an impact in some of these kids' lives and the culture of the program and their futures.
Mhm.
I wanted them to have a great future.
So Robstown has a very rich baseball tradition. How has that been affected? What would you say are the factors that are affecting it?
Yeah, I would just tell you that I had a very long. I have a friend of mine that I trust with every secret in my life,
Mhm.
and he knows that. And I called him before I came here, and he said, just be honest, but don't. There's no reason to call anybody out or anything like that.
Mm.
And I would just tell you that my goals as a coach every year have not changed in the last 15 years.
Mhm.
I want to win 20 games. I want to win a national academic award that the American Baseball Coaches Association gives out.
Mhm.
And I want to go to at least the third round. So, my first year in Robstown, we did not win 20 games. We did not go to the third round. We went to the second round, but we won the National Academic Award. And I thought, we're going in the right direction. If
Mhm.
I'm going to win one, that's a good one to win,
Mhm.
you know?
What was the before you continue? What
Yeah.
was the condition right before you got here?
What, of the academics and things like
Yeah.
that. I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
know that there were some struggles
Okay.
academically, and so we implemented a lot of things, a new weight program, a lot of things that, to be honest with you, I didn't really ask what was
Mm.
going on before. I just said, "This is what
Yeah.
we're going to do."
Okay.
You know,
So we got 1 out of 3 the
we got
first
one out
year.
of three. So then this year, um, we upped our schedule big time. Like, I think at one time I counted, and I should do it again because the final rankings came out. But 80% of the teams that we played were either ranked in the top 20 in 3A, 4A, 5A, or 6A. So 80%. So we played Brenham, China Spring,
Mm.
Robinson twice, who won the state championship, Cal Allen twice, TM twice,
Mm.
Falfurious, who is always good in 3A. Those teams are all extremely competitive. Smithson Valley in 5A. So we played a lot of really, really good baseball teams this year. And I knew we were going to take a bite. I knew it's like, we're probably not going to win all those games.
Mhm.
Like, we're going to have trouble, but it's going to prepare us for down the road.
Right.
And so this year we went to the third round, which is again my goal,
Mhm.
like as a coach. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we've made it to the third round now, regional semifinals. We're 2 series away from going to the state tournament. Like, we're going in the right
Right
direction.
direction.
And I just found out the other day that we qualified for the National Academic Award again.
All right. Congratulations.
We have a higher GPA this year. Last year we were 3.29, and this year something like that. And then this year we were 3.36.
Okay.
So we're going to win it again. We just have to wait till July till it
Awesome.
comes out. So we accomplished both of those. We did not win the 20 games.
How many did y'all get?
16 this
16.
year. So 16 both years. But if you go back, I mean, I could have won 20 games easy. I could schedule in a way.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could schedule teams. I mean, we played a couple teams this year that it was just like, why are we even playing these
But
guys?
you might have lost that other mark.
Right. That's right. Because by the time we got to the second round, that team didn't bring anything to the table that we hadn't seen already.
Mhm.
So we were very second round. I hate to say easy, but was definitely not as tough as some of the other things that we had done during the year. So we accomplished 2 of the goals. So now we're 2 out of 3. And I thought, man, we're going in the right direction.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, and this is not a shot to anybody, I just think that a lot of people who follow Robstown baseball, and it is a wonderful program, and the kids are amazing. I love these kids. These are great kids. I just think their goals and my goals didn't match.
Not the same.
It's not the same, and that's okay. That's fine.
Where do you think they differ?
I think I will just tell you this. I heard all the time, well, in 1992 we won a state championship, and I understand that. That was 30 years ago.
You do know that there's a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans, right? So that's the same mentality.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Saints fan, so I grew up a Saints fan in Louisiana. So, but yeah, I just think it was different. And in the end, when I sat down and I prayed about it for months, I mean, I'd been praying about it for a really long time, because it just felt like there was a lot of things that I was trying to do and a lot of direction that we were trying to go in as a coaching staff that people, I don't really think everybody wanted us to go in that direction. And I'll just give you one quick story. My friend who is, his name is Johnny. When
Mhm.
whoever who listens to this gonna know who he is.
Mhm.
But Johnny's a great man, and has been through some struggles in his life. And he coached with me in Banketti. And Johnny was in Home Depot one day, and there was a Robstown fan there, Robstown gear on, and
Mhm.
Johnny had a hat on, and he said, "Hey, you a Robstown guy?" And he said, "Oh, my friend's a baseball coach there." And he said, "You think this guy's gonna be able to do something, get us back to state?" And Johnny goes, "Absolutely. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight, but
Mhm.
I do think it's gonna happen." And Johnny just said, he said, "Well, what's he going to do different?" And Johnny goes, "Well, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to fix the academics, and he's going to fix the character of the young men, because high character men are going to stand by each other better. High character young
Mhm.
men are going to accomplish more goals. They're going to work harder, those types of things." He said, we're going to build that character stuff first, and then the wins will come after." And the man just looked at him and said, "That's not the right way to do it.
Mhm.
Just go win the game. Who cares?
Mhm.
Just go win." And Johnny's like, he called me and he's like, "That's not you, man." And I was like,
Mhm.
and that was the first year. And but we kept pushing away, and we kept pushing, and I think the kids responded to it. And there's always kids that aren't necessarily bought into everything you're trying to do. But you know, I love those kids. Parents, there are a lot of people who agreed with what we were doing. A lot of
Mhm.
people were on the same page. I just think in the end that it was a difference in mentality and a difference in goals. And I could go forever and not win a state championship. I'd be okay. It'd be all right. And I tell, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings. It's about the Jamaican bobsled team.
I've heard of
Oh,
it. I don't think
yeah,
I've seen it.
it's funny, John Candy, old movie.
Mhm.
But there's a part in there where he tells the kid, he says, if, and I said this after a state championship game, state tournament game for Banketti. I said it on multiple interviews, but he has a line in there, and he says, "If you're not the man that you need to be without a gold medal, you'll never be the man you
Mhm.
need to be with a
With
gold
one.
medal."
That's right.
And I think the same thing about a state championship. Like, in the end, what are we really trying to build?
Mhm.
And I would love to win a state championship.
Yeah.
I'm a coach. Yeah,
Mhm.
I want to go undefeated. It's great.
Yeah.
I do. But I also know that you have to evaluate your talent, and you have to say, this is what we're trying to do. And the part that people don't understand is our seventh grade team lost one game this year. They were like 14-1. Our eighth grade team lost two games this year. They were like 12-2. Our JV team was 22-5. But it's a varsity world, and
Mhm.
people only care about that varsity.
Mhm.
And they can say that they don't, but I looked in the stands and I saw just the parents there when we were playing the other stuff, and we're just trying to build something.
Mhm.
Things that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
You don't just snap your fingers and it happens. You got to
Right.
keep pushing, and baby steps, and sometimes it's a great big step, and sometimes it's a big step back, and
Mhm.
you have to refocus and start over. And I'm not an excuse giver.
Mhm.
It was a hard year.
Yeah.
It was a hard year. We lost Gabe, our assistant coach, before the first game. We lost Rainey Paredes, who was a big community member for
Mm.
Robstown. Um, we had a couple kids who struggled with their grades a little bit, and had a little hiccup, and that hurt us a little bit. We had a ton of injuries. We lost our starting left fielder. We lost our starting right fielder. Um, we lost a young man who moved, who probably would have started for us. Um, so it's tough.
Where did they move to?
His family moved to Gregory, Portland. His dad
Mhm.
got a new job, and they moved. It wasn't anything to do with us. It was just,
Mhm.
they had a different path in life.
Mhm.
But the two young men that we had two young men that should have been our starting right fielder, two hole hitter, and our starting left fielder hitting down in the lineup. And those kids are two of the fastest kids in all of Robstown. And we play a certain way. And when you take those two kids out of the lineup, it changed how we played. And
How did those guys get out of the lineup?
uh, both of them, actually, I've never heard of this injury in my entire life. and it happened to both of them.
Wow.
They tore their labrum in their hips, and so both have had surgery on their hips. And one will never play again. He is done. His career's over, and the other one is rehabbing right now, and hopefully going to get back in the lineup next year. And he's a
Wow.
big track kid, but yes, I mean it was a challenging year, but in the end, I just think that it's best for Robstown baseball, and it's best for me and my family to part ways and let them find someone who has that desire to do the things that those people
Hmm.
want them to do, and I'm gonna go and try and find a place that wants to do the things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah, building character to me is more important than winning a state
Yeah.
championship. And I would say I had a question a little while ago. How many of the kids that you coach are their dads in the picture?
This year, I didn't do the math, but I have a great story for you. When I was in Banketti, this was 2019, I believe, and we played a game on Friday night, and we played Falfurious, and we got down 2-0 in the first inning, and we just quit. It was just like we can't win, and we actually fought back and lost that game 3-1. But it was the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth inning. It was like you just pulled the plug,
Mhm.
like we were done. And I sat in the office that night. That was one of those nights I sat there really late, and I was like, man, something's not right. Something's not right. I can't figure out what's not right. And I went home, and they had a JV game the next day and a junior high game, and I coached the junior high game in Banketti, and Johnny went to Falfurious. And I called Johnny. I said, how's it going? He said, Coach, we're down 8-0 first inning. I was like, here we go. JV game down 8-0. So they only play for an hour and a half. So it's 30 minutes in, and they're down 8-0.
Wow.
So hour later, hey man, what did it end up? He goes 18-8. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, it could have been worse. He goes, Coach, we won.
We won.
I was like, what? He said, we won 18-8.
Wow.
He said, we didn't give up another run. I was like, why is that different? So anyway, Johnny gets home, sitting there in the office, and we're just talking. Me, him, other coaches. We dressed out 18 kids Friday night, and we took 15 kids to foul on Saturday. Out of the 18 kids that were on that field Friday night, 2 had dads in the picture.
Mm.
The team that went to foul, the JV team, out of that 15 kids that went to foul, 13 of them had a dad in the picture.
Mm.
And that is when Johnny just looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, wow. And he said, Coach, that's it. That's it. That's what it is. And we shifted that year, and we really started focusing on that part of it. Like we're gonna be dad. Like you got these 5, you got these 5, you got these 5, whatever. Call them, text them twice a week, stay in contact with them, whatever. And that 2019 team went 18-8, 18-18, and made it to the 4th round of the playoffs and won a national academic award.
Whoa.
And we caught it about the 3rd district game, and we were like, wow, this is big. So we started coaching them that way, and I've officiated 2 of their weddings.
All right. That's awesome. What's the difference maker there between a dad and a no dad?
I have another story, but I'm not going to share it, and I'll just tell you that because it's about here, and everybody will know who I'm talking about. But I will just tell you, when I see a dad that's invested the right way, and that kid feels like I've got somebody in my corner, just like you, a highlight. When that kid knows that person's there for me, it changes everything. I had a young man. I will tell this story. I had a young man in Banketti. I'm just gonna call him Dave. That wasn't his name. his dad had some trouble with the law and gotten locked up, and he was on that team. He was on that 2019 team, and he and I took him, and I called him 2 or 3 times a week. We'd talk after practice. I'd take him to eat, get something to eat. I'd buy him lunch during the day. I'd buy him whatever it was, right? And so I was constantly there, constantly trying to be there while Dad was gone. And it was a couple years after he had graduated, and he called me one night, and it was like 10 o'clock, and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he's like, "Thank you, coach." And I was like, "I ain't done anything." What are you
Mhm.
talking about? He said, "Coach, I know it's time to go to bed and you're fixing to go to bed, and I hate to drop this on you, but I've been trying to decide if I was going to call you all day." And he said, "I just want you to know that last night my girlfriend broke up with me before I went to bed, and I lost my job yesterday, and it's been a really rough couple days." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, what do you need?" He goes, "I don't need anything, coach." He said, "Because I was going to kill myself last night."
Mm.
And he said, "I didn't do it." And he said, "All night long, I dreamed of your voice. And all I could hear was you saying, if you ever need me, call me. Just do this. It'll be okay. You're going to get through it. You're going to push through it. Keep pushing, keep driving. Don't stop." He said, and all these things. And, and I'm not sharing that for any reason, but it's the truth.
Mhm.
And the young man, he told me, he said, "Coach, you changed my life. And thank you for that." And this was like 2023, and 3 or 4 years after he had graduated. And he called me 6 months later, got a better job, was getting married. Everything's going in the right direction. Got involved in the
Mhm.
church. So there's wins and there's losses,
Mhm.
and you just got to
I'd
keep
rather
on.
hear stories like that than we got a ring,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
their life went down the drain after that.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it would go down the drain just because they got a ring. I think that rings come with that. You know,
Right.
you can't get, typically, you're not going to get the ring unless it's a strong group
Right.
of young men. And I went to a football game. I would go to some of the football games when my nephew was playing here in Robstown, and I used to see some of the tantrums that some of those young boys used to throw on the sidelines when they were pulled out or something didn't go their way. And I was blown away. I was like, "Don't put that kid back."
Right.
Like, "Come on, coach." And they'd put that kid back, or they'd put up with his little tantrum. And I would talk to my nephew, and I was like, "Man, you need to talk to that kid, your friend. You put him straight.
Yeah.
Tell him not stop acting like a baby,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to be hurtful to the team, and not just to the team, to him."
Right.
And it didn't sit well with me. I thought that there was character building that needed to take place in the lives of our young boys, and a lot of times it's not their fault. It's that
Right.
they're missing that person. They're missing that dad
Yeah.
that is there to construct that. And now a dad doesn't necessarily care if you win rings. Your dad wants you to grow up and to be a good person,
Yeah.
a good man, a real man. So he's going to focus more on that. A coach just wants to win rings. He's just not even going to bother with that,
Right.
right? So I can see where you're coming from. I can see that you realize the importance of these kids feeling fulfilled in more than one area,
Yeah.
especially
Right.
with that psychology that you talked about, the that you have to know each and every one of those students.
Right. And we had a couple. My favorite thing to do every year is talk to the seniors when they're done.
Mhm.
That's my favorite thing. Sit in the room and just go, talk to me or come by and see me and let's talk individually. Right. And constantly, kids are like, "Coach, I enjoyed this year so much. Like, thank you so much." And there's always a kid that's like, "Oh, coach, I wanted to win so bad." I was like, "I understand. I know
Mhm.
you wanted to win, but you're 17.
Mhm.
There's a lot of your life left that you need to win in a lot of areas,
Right.
not just baseball. Like, go be a great dad, go be a great husband, go get a job that that, before, and I'm just going to be blunt about this because sometimes you don't have a choice,
Mhm.
but don't get a little girl pregnant.
Right.
Like take your time, take care of you, get you taken care of, and then worry about those things. But sometimes I feel like we're so caught up in, you need to get married and you need to do, whoa,
Mm.
get prepared to get
Right.
married. I mean, we
Mhm.
practice before we play.
Yeah.
So let's prepare ourselves. Let's put myself in the best situation as an individual before I go add somebody else to that
Mhm.
family,
Yeah.
to my life. And we teach that. I mean, I do. I talk about it all the
Mhm.
time. I have an assistant coach friend that tells me all the time. He's like, man, I would have died to have you as a coach.
Mhm.
And he said I stayed in trouble, stayed doing things that I shouldn't have done. And he said, Dad wasn't around. I just needed somebody to say, hey, that's not right, you know? And it's okay. There's always going to be people who
Mhm.
disagree with that. And the hardest part, without a doubt, is you're doing those things and it's all behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Nobody sees it.
Mhm.
And they parents will make comments. Well, I know he likes to talk to the players. He won't talk to the parents. No, I'll talk to you. You
Mhm.
just I'm just not going to hunt you out. You
Mhm.
come see me. If you have a question, come see me.
Right.
I had another incident one time. I had a young man who was a catcher for me, and I was a catcher. So that's a very hard position to play for Coach Miller
Mhm.
if you want to be a catcher,
Mhm.
because I am extremely intense when it comes to my catchers. So he he's doing great. Like we don't have a problem. Everything's great, wonderful. And mom calls me and she says, "Hey, we need to talk." I was like, "Okay, come on up." So she shows up after practice, and it's me, the stepdad, and the kid, and the mom. And they're sitting in front of me, and the kid's sitting over to the left. And she goes, "Well, he's just having a really rough time." And I was like, well, what's going on? Because he hasn't said anything to me. And she goes, "No, he was not going to say anything to you because, I'm just watching the game, and I know that he's really, really stressed out." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't see that. So please what, tell me
What I'm
how, or tell
missing.
me what
Mhm.
am I missing, right?" And she said, "Well, after every pitch, after everything that happens, he looks straight in the dugout at you constantly. He's always looking at you." And I was like, "Give me an example." And she goes, "Well, like a kid will get a hit and it'll be a mistake or something, and he looks right at you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, do, do you want to tell her or do you want me to tell her?" And he said, "Mom, I'm getting a signal." He's like, he gives me the signal to tell me what to throw on the next pitch. And the poor stepdad just goes, he just ducks his head. And the mom's like, "What?"
Mm.
And I was like, "We communicate with each other through hand signals really fast. That way, as soon as he squats down, he knows what's going on." She's like, "I didn't know that." And I
Mhm.
said, "All you had to do is have a conversation with him."
Mhm.
And I said, "But you skipped him and argued with your buddies and then came straight to me like it was a
Mhm.
problem. And if you just sat down and talked to your kid, he would have told you that."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Mom, get up, let's go." And it's funny now,
Yeah. Yeah.
but have a conversation with your kid.
Yeah.
I have a kid in Robstown that I care a lot about, um, a whole bunch. And his dad doesn't care for me. Like his dad's not a fan, Coach Miller. And if I'm not even going to give examples, I'm just going to tell you what happened. So dad's not a fan. So when I sent the message out a couple weeks ago that I was leaving, um, I haven't heard from the dad. I've ran into him twice. And he just ignores me. That's okay. I've gotten 2 messages from the kid, and both really powerful. "Thank you so much. I don't want you to leave. You've been meant so much. Thank you for being an ear. You know, um, I don't know if I would play if you weren't my coach." That kind of stuff. And I'd never share that kid's name. I'd never,
Mhm.
but I that's what I care about.
Mhm.
And I've given a lot of examples, but when you coach for 34 years, you have a lot.
You
And
trying to go ahead.
yeah, and I care so much more about that than if we won 25 games and won a
Mm.
ring.
Making men.
Trying to make them better than me.
Mhm.
You said something about this a few minutes ago. I bet you've heard this, but your dad is the only person, the only man in your life that wants you to be better than him.
Mm.
And so if I'm going to be that kind of coach, then I have to have that mentality.
Right.
So I want that kid to definitely be better than me.
Mm.
My son, my players hear a lot of my stories.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell you that I gave my life to Christ when I was 16 years old on October
Amen.
25th of the year passing me, but October 25th of my 16-year-old year. And I remember that because it was a friend of mine's birthday. And we went to an event, and I gave my life to Christ. And I was 16 years old. And I stood up in front of a congregation of 400 people and gave a sermon when I was 19.
Mm.
And I prayed in front of giant congregations and events and every graduation and every whatever until I was 20, 21 years old. And from 24 to 34, I was a really bad person. And I struggled a lot with some things in my life. And I I fell hard and needed something to bring me out of it. And I met my wife when I was 34 and was still not quite where I needed to be. And she hates it when I tell the story, but we went on our first date February 1st. We got engaged in July. We got married in October. And 11 months later, we had my son.
Mm.
And he was born in August. And I was standing in his room one day when she was gone with my daughter somewhere, my stepdaughter. She's my daughter. And it was like God reached down and took my heart and just squeezed it while I was sitting there looking at him. And I was like, he can't be like me. I can't let him be like me. And I hit the floor right there in his room and I cried for an hour of just how terrible and how bad I treated people and how awful I was. And it was that just sitting there squeezing me. And that later that night, I didn't know what to do. And every time I see him, I think of that. Every time I look at him on that pitcher's mound, every time he walks in my office when he's frustrated, every time he smiles, every time we do anything together. And I just think he's got to be better than me. And I have that same mentality about my players. Just be better than me, man. Because I've shared some pretty hard stories with my players before, and because I want them to know they're not the only one going through that.
Mm-hmm.
We all go through that, and so I hope one day, if nothing else, you disagree with how many games I won. You disagree with who played and who didn't play. You disagree. You disagree with the color of jacket we wore as a coach. It shouldn't have been black, whatever. But you can't deny that.
Was that a real problem? A real issue?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have worn black.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good legacy to leave behind. And that's a good goal to shoot for.
Oh.
You said from 24 to 34. What brought you out of that, and how has it been since?
Yeah, he brought me out. I mean, Ripken brought me out without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell kids all the time, like, when you get married, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh, I love her and
Mm-hmm.
she's so beautiful and it's going to be perfect. It stinks. For the first couple years, you better figure each other out, know. But Sheena and I, and we laugh about it now because I love when my favorite thing about my wife is when kids say, "Y'all are my goal marriage."
Mhm.
Like, yeah, yeah, I'm living my goal right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm living it. And but anyway, 24 to 34, and that day with Rip, and just taking it day by day, like getting back involved in the church. And it's been big for Sheena and I, as a family, is praying together,
Mhm.
being, we pray with our kids. I don't break it out, the old coach of like 1, 2, 3 hustle, one, two,
Mhm.
three work, 1, 2. We don't do that. I don't do that. We pray it out.
Mhm.
We don't break it out. We pray it out at the end of practice every day, at the end of games, everything. And that's been big for me. And I think just understanding that you're going to fail, understanding that I'm going to mess up, I'm going to make really dumb decisions that, I've got to change and get back on path. And, the situation in Banketti, you know,
Mhm.
and I just hope that people, I said that here, don't judge me off of 45 seconds of my life,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and because there's other parts of that video that nobody wanted to show,
Right.
that I'm banging my chest, telling them how much I love them, and we're on the right page with one another, and I, it's a whole other podcast to talk
Mhm.
about that, but the situation that I went through over there, but yeah, I think just a day to day, like get up every morning, enjoy going to work, and get up every morning and say, I'm gonna make an impact today. I'm gonna try and do this today. I love to don't tell the police this. I know there's one standing over here behind me, but I'll just my TikTok's going while I'm driving. I don't
Mhm.
always listen to music. My son's sitting in the seat next to me, and we listen to TikTok videos where it's a
Mhm.
little short blurb of a
Right.
sermon, or
Clips.
it's clips and things like that. And I love that kind of stuff. And or maybe it's a coach's speech or whatever. If you turn my TikTok on, it's motivational videos, and
Mhm.
it's pastors, the the path now where they're talking about being a man, and it's
Right.
the guy standing up there with the tattoos and the
Mhm.
muscle. I love listening to that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I think it's just a day-to-day push and get through the struggles. And
Yeah, so I was opening up my social media a few weeks back, and I started seeing some leaders uh, start talking about rumors that they were trying to get rid of you,
oh yeah,
and kind of defending their stance on that.
sure.
And then about a week later or so, I saw a post that you were going to Ingleside, and I was like, oh no. That didn't go well. So, I know you mentioned some of the circumstances, but how did that transpire? What's your hope
Yeah,
for Ingleside?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The number one reason that all that came to play. I mean, like I said, I don't care what they think,
Mm,
but I care how what they think and what they're doing affects my family.
mhm,
And we just got to a point where my son, my wife, and myself said, "It's time."
mhm,
Like it's running into our family. It's affecting the day to day aspects of everything. And I didn't. I don't want to say I actively pursued other jobs,
mhm,
but when you're old and you've been doing it a long time,
mhm,
things come across your desk,
mhm,
and I didn't know what was going to happen. I will tell you that this profession is really hard.
mhm,
Um, Freer, Banketti, Ingleside, Robstown, H.M. King, Gregory Portland, Victoria East. Uh, there's 11. There's 11 head coaches. Pettis, Francis Pass, Woodsboro. All those baseball jobs are open or had came open this year, and needed to be filled.
mhm.
So it is a tough profession.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, for me, Ingleside became. I made some phone calls before I ever called anybody about the job, and I call people I trust.
Mhm,
And there's not very many, but there's a couple that I lean on a bunch. And so I picked the phone up and I called some friends and I just said, "What do you think?" And they're like, man, it sounds like it's time. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not that guy. I stayed in Mankato for 12 years,
Mhm.
and I love being somewhere for a while because I think the way I coach it, there's a bigger impact down the road than it
Mhm.
is immediate. And so it was Ingleside kept popping up, just kept like, oh man, this guy, I know this guy there, and I know this guy there, and they love it there, and this person, and there's a honeymoon phase anywhere,
Mhm.
you know, but it just became there was another opportunity, and that opportunity went away, and so it all happened a few days after the playoffs. Is I didn't think about it during the
Mhm.
playoffs at all. I just wanted to win and
Mhm.
compete, and I thought we did that. Floresville was a better team than us. I
Mm.
know people don't like for me to say that, but
Yeah.
they were better than us, and so it just came right a few days after the playoffs, and some things happened at work, and I was just like, let me make a phone call. So so I made a phone call to Ingleside, and within just a couple days, it was like, hey, why don't you come out here and let's talk and let's see what your goals are. And I said, look, I'll stay right where I'm at. It's not a problem.
Mhm.
I said, I'll stay where I'm at and I'll figure it out. And it just became one of those things where it was like, man, this is probably the way to go,
Mhm.
you know. And so when my wife and my kid heard and they were on board with it, I was just like, you know, we gotta. Sometimes in life, my one of the best things I tell the kids all this time. One of the best things I ever heard is sometimes in life you got to do stuff you don't want to do. You
Mhm.
know, and they say it a different way, but you got to do
Mhm.
stuff you don't want to do, and so it was hard. You got to make a decision that's best for your family sometimes, and that's what it came about.
Well, well, we hate some of us hate to lose you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've gotten
Yeah, for sure.
a lot of positive feedback, a lot
But
of
we
stuff.
definitely understand. Me myself being in leadership positions and stuff like that. I definitely understand the pressures and all that that come alongside that or come along with it. It's part of the territory, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And
Yeah,
you know, the older you get, you got less time to waste, and you got to
right.
make decisions.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's a great point. You know, and there comes a point like when you get later in life and uh, you're past dealing with some stuff,
Mhm,
and it's like,
mhm.
hey, I need something a little different.
Well, thank you for the time that you gave us here in Robstown.
I appreciate it.
It's appreciated, and like I said, you know, some of us wish we could have seen more of it, but
Yeah,
you know, I know that God is in control.
right,
I know you trust Him, and I believe that He'll order your steps,
right.
and that's part of it. He'll work all things together for your good.
That's my favorite verse,
Yeah.
37, 20, Psalm 37, 23 and
Mhm.
24. You know, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord,
And He
and
delights in His way.
he delights in his way. You know,
Hmm.
so even if you falter, he will pick you up.
Yes, sir.
So,
Coach Rusty Miller, it's been a pleasure, and I just want to thank you for joining me in the den.
well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.